And in doing so, that has allowed me to go and be ready to be extroverted. During the time we've been living in what we call a two-dimensional world for some time now with the virtual technology, which has been both a blessing and a band-aid. Because a blessing because you get to connect with individuals across the world, but a band-aid because when you fade to black and go off the screen, you're only with your thoughts and yourself. And allowing me to do inner work, I've peeled away the layers. And what Sheri tapped on really was tapping into your wellness, because I was saying yes to others and saying no to myself, which resulted me into a hospitalization for ICU unit with stage 5 myasthenia gravis, which was terminal. Less than 24 hours before admission, I was deemed clear and fine. They sent me home, and I got the call back the next day to come in immediately, doctor's orders. And so I was really put into perspective, because all of my preliminary conditions, if you will, mental, physical, and medical, were self-induced through stress, anxiety, honing it in and suppressing my emotions, especially after the loss of my mother. So I empower everyone. As Helen mentioned in the beginning, it's important to understand our reflection. And as Sheri touched on several times, it's important to do your inner work. Tap into your soul and spirit. And once you are well balanced, that's when your cup overflows and you can pay it forward and help others.
So both of you have mentioned this really important detail about having that kind of peaceful time to really rearrange and work through some tough emotions where, you know, express it differently, each of you. And I think it's important to extract something that I think you both are very familiar with, at least on the general theme level of abuse in childhood. I know the work that each of you have done has covered that theme. And because we know so many women experience some form of abuse, in fact, I work on a campaign for body safety for children under the age of 12, and we're so shocked to see the statistics of virtually 50% of children are abused in some way. That means 50% of adults in the world will end up living as adults with a form of abuse history. So I wanted to just bring it straight through like a laser insight from both of your lives and from the work that you do. What do you think is one of the most essential keys for women who have been through an abuse history of any kind? Obviously, this pertains to men as well, but since we're talking about women's health, we'll focus there. And it is distinctively different to on a woman's body as opposed to a man's body. What is the one specific thing or essential thing that you can name that would really help women who have had that kind of history trust the process of going within a little bit more? Because I know a lot of women might avoid that or prefer to kind of work it out in other ways, or maybe unconsciously even just end up going through a lot of self-abandoning, people-pleasing, or maybe very promiscuous behavior. There's many ways to talk about it, but if you could give us your insights from the work that you've done, if anyone listening is in that situation or will end up in a situation like that, or has a daughter that might, what could be a key turner, a supportive piece of insight from the work that you've done that would help those women begin to think differently about going within, self-reflecting, and doing a bit more of that confrontational work with the pain and the suffering? Sheri.
Yeah, I would say pretty much, I would say at least 75% of my clients have had some form of trauma, because it always comes up. If it happened, they talk about it. They don't fail to not mention it when we do a deep dive, and it sickens me to hear it. I was abused as a child myself, so I can relate to them, and it still makes me ill to hear it. But I can't let them see that. We have to be there to hear them and support them and allow them to go there. Because I think the more they can talk about it and the less emotion that they have, they can heal from it. When you don't feel the pain anymore and you can talk about it matter-of-factly, that it happened to you and you were a participant, not saying willing participant. Most people didn't know what was happening that were abused. And we have to go into acceptance and forgiveness and know that they were sick. Whoever wronged us was ill, mentally ill, because that's not something you do when you're sane. I'm very much into understanding trauma, the ACE test, adult childhood experiences. And they found that, the higher the score is, the less you're going to live. You're not going to live a long life because people that are traumatized do things to mask their pain. They get into addictions. They hurt themselves. They don't respect themselves, and because they didn't know how to say no. So people have to start saying no. Saying no is saying yes to you. And sometimes people become codependent because they want to please everybody and they don't want to disappoint. So sometimes it's okay to not have to do everything for everyone. And I'm still learning that myself. I'm very much a people pleaser. I think the more I learn about trauma, the more I understand myself.
Yep, I hear that very loud and clear, that also that internalization is also such a powerful place to look for some answers that then help the people you work with. Andrea, what would be your answer to that?
Yes, having worked in the fields as mentioned before, we have to understand it's not a reflection of us. It's a reflection of them.
I'm going to stop you a sec, Andrea, to see if you can talk a little louder. We can't hear you that
All
well.
right, how about now? Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still struggling. I don't understand what's going on with this mic, but I do apologize. We have to understand at one point in our lives that it's not a reflection of us, but it's a reflection of them. I have dealt with pedophiles. I have dealt with murderers. I have dealt with people who've been, in some of the heinous crimes. And what I've realized was that's all they knew. And what the misconception that I am working with the judicial system, with law enforcement, with teachers, with parents, with providers and mentors, is understanding it's not an impairment of intellect. It's an area of improvement of allowing them to have self-awareness, an area that this was not something that they deserved, that they were not meant to receive. It was most times at the wrong place at the wrong time. At other times, a result of lack of self-esteem, lack of self-confidence, lack of self-awareness and self-worth. I remember when I was younger and going through this, my parents felt it was important for me to speak to someone. And that person at that time said, well, this is what happened. This is what it is. And you know what? Maybe it's a sign of you were seeking attention. That was the pivotal moment when I was 11 years old that I decided I was going to go into social work and psychology and be the change. Because a lot of people minimize it. And when we don't have the ability to empathize, to understand, to resonate, and not judge, I used to get reprimanded going into seeing individuals because I refused to read their profile. They're not a label. They're not a stereotype. They're not somebody who's sick. They're not somebody who's bruised. That's someone's mother. That's someone's daughter, father, or uncle. And I was there and made it a count to meet them as an individual. And I still remember sharing my story on the platform, how I was getting bullied and abused and having to be forced into eating my lunch in the bathroom just to avoid the reprimands on the playground of getting shoved into lockers and thrown into garbage cans. I'd had to change my channel of realizing that when I got abused of non-consent and consent, that I wasn't in the right state of mind. And I'm here to let people know. When we start to connect on a human level and understand, listen without judgment, that's when change occurs. That's when we help individuals cross that path from victimization to victory by the healing power of forgiveness, getting to the root cause. Be brave enough to approach your predator or prowler. And if not, be brave enough to look in the mirror and say, I've got this. I'm ready. My sacrifices and scars are ready to be stories and impact of influence because I'm still here.
So both of you have said something about the ongoing nature of the work, that it's continuous and that there has been still so much that comes back when you encounter the topic again, and still we celebrate you, and I'm sure you've had your moments where you've looked back and seen how far you've come. So it's a really lovely message for us to also remember these two sides of it, that there is so much work that we managed to do and there's still more that comes. So not to get disheartened by that, to know from two survivors as well here that have ended up using all that wisdom to support others on their journey, are also working with this in another way at another time, but again, have still accomplished so much from having walked the path already. I want to thank you both for your candid and honest way of opening up to us and sharing all this information. I'm sure it's very helpful to women who haven't yet spoken out, who still carry the secret of their own trauma. And even those watching that are men that have maybe been perpetrators of violence against women in any way, or abuse onto young female children, and to all of us out there looking at new and interesting ways to think about our personal development. I think this inner work piece is a really important one to keep attending to, but also in very specific detail, the self-reflection that we spoke about at the beginning. I want to give each of my guests the last chance to highlight something or send out a message to our community watching. Sheri, last words?
Last words, sure. I can check your chakras. If you want to know if your chakras are stuck, I can help you get them unstuck and assess where you're blocked. And we can discuss that. I'm available. You can go to balancing chakras, balancing chakra. Well, go to SheriKaplan.com. I also welcome you to join me on my virtual fair. It's on the last Saturday of the month, Taylor's Network Virtual Fair. I also have a clubhouse room every Wednesday, and I teach how to create Airbnb experiences. If you'd like to be a host anywhere in the world as a travel experience host, I'm a teacher, and I will be starting a course in November on the Awaken Entrepreneur. So I'm accepting a waiting list for that. So I thank you for having me on board, and I'd like to support anybody who'd like to be seen, heard, recognized, and get paid for your passion and your purpose.
Excellent. And you can actually see Sheri's event in our group, Women of Truth Yin. On Tuesdays, we actually share a live training from 5 p.m. Central European time on business building, but I focus a lot on PR, publicity, and what I just call visibility. It's so important for people to know what it is that you do. Not so much how you deal with all the tech, but really just to be visible. And Sheri's platform is a way for you to do that and get paid. And so we promote these kinds of experiences, and you'll see those on Wednesdays in the group. And in 2021, we had loads of them on Tuesday. So go and find out more about it there, and you'll see also her LinkedIn and her website on this assembly post. So that way you can also go and check her out and track your way back to her events there. Andrea, last words for our community?
Yes, absolutely. like I had mentioned, we all have a story of life, and it's important that you know that through life's journey, through the toughest times, miracles are made. Through life's trials and tribulations, triumphs will and can be won. And once you choose to press play, plan life according to you, you will be successful, happiness, and able to pay it forward. I welcome individuals here who are watching this live and on the playback to go to AndreaMasons.com to redeem your free complimentary connection with me, as well as knowing that I am here as accountability coach, a certified professional organizer, certified small business entrepreneur, bridging the gap from where you want to be to organize your life, get your mind right, and be balanced. And I thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Helen and Sheri, for sharing this amazing platform. And I look forward to having you exceed your fullest potential in all aspects of life.
Excellent. And when I asked for light, it just happened. I hope you noticed there was someone who just came and hit the light on right there. So what we truly, truly believe we need and want, we can actually make happen. So I thank my guests so much. It's been great to speak to both of you in this deep and profound way. And there is so much more I'm sure we could unwrap and discover more in our time together. And every month on a Monday, we do this again. So you're always welcome to come back and interact with my other guests and weave into that conversation. But today was really an important message that it does take some real consistent work to keep meeting ourselves in these private, personal ways. But it's so important to do that so we can really confront things that we need to change. And the brave courage that it takes that Andrea talked about, the consistent honesty, of recognizing that things may still affect us when they have been traumatic for us in life, and that's okay, from what Sheri shared. Very important insights. I want to let you all know that we are really busy now with a youth summit, Women of Truth for Youth Summit. It's 2 projects I do for social change just to support the community. One is the Divine Mother Conference. It's actually a summit where we talk about the feminine mysteries. And we go into divine feminine leadership and the God essence, I call it, how to connect with the divine mother within and to honor the divine mother outside of us. And for that event, you always have the opportunity to go back and watch videos, see what previous guests have spoken about, watch the live streams. And then for the Women of Truth Youth Summit, it just happens straight after the Divine Mother Summit. We have a guest every night talking about the future of the next generation, issues, uncertainty, unpredictability of the future, but also some very important tools for young people to develop skills for what's coming. So I welcome you to join us for that and interact with us in the group on Fridays. Let us know what you're about, what you're doing. If you want to jump on any of our publicity projects, know that you're always welcome. And again, thanks so much, Sheri. Thanks so much, Andrea.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody.